It's the Brewers and the Rockies, and we're just about set for game one of this three-game series. Tonight's broadcast presented by Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. 70 degrees here in the Mile High City, just beautiful. And a great day for baseball. And the final 3 days are expecting terrific weather for the rest of this series and the rest of the season. Craig Counsell and the Brew Crew. Counsell, you might remember, is an original Rocky. He was drafted by Colorado out of Notre Dame, signed with them, and then traded to the Marlins. So he's got a lot of connections here to this organization. And the Potawatomi batting order for the Brew Crew tonight. It's Villar, Jeanette, and Braun at the top. Carter, Santana, and Perez in the middle, with Arcia, Maldonado, and Suter rounding it out.
Yeah, Bettis, a second-round selection in 2010 out of Texas Tech. He leads the Rockies in starts and innings pitched, a 13-8 record, a .492 earned run average, and oddly enough, most of his really good starts have come here at home in a hitter-friendly ballpark.
Jonathan Villar, first man up, takes a strike, and away we go. Tony Randazzo calling the balls and strikes. He is the crew chief. Villar, Jeanette, and Braun to start it against Chad Bettis. 13-game winner, and a guy who had a pretty good run going until his last start. Brewers have faced him this year. As a matter of fact, Chris Carter homered off of Chad Bettis in Milwaukee.
Yeah, four-pitch pitcher that normally throws strikes, but in his start against the Brewers this year in August, he walked a career-high 7. Very unusual for him.
Last start gave up 7 runs, 5 earned. And a start against the Dodgers as he strikes out Villar to get the night started.
Well, let's check out the Menards Rockies defense. You know, the Brewers and Rockies at the bottom of the league as far as defense goes. Talking about errors, you got Dahl, Blackman, and Gonzalez in the outfield. Arenado, a Gold Glover over at third base. Descalso, LeMahieu up the middle. Got Cardullo at first and Nick Hundley behind home plate.
Now, no Mark Reynolds. He's out with an injury, broken hamate bone in the hand, and Gerardo Parra was injured last night, the former Brewer. He's actually in a boot on his left foot. Scooter Jeanette takes strike one. Every home run Scooter hits is a new career high for him this year. He's at 14. He's had a nice run. He is arbitration eligible. That means he is due a big pay raise. First 3 years you are under total control, and then the next 3 you're under control as well, but then you start to get paid based on production. And so this is a big year for Scooter Jeanette, and a big year for him to have a career year in home runs.
Yeah, it's been a good season for him. I think Craig Counsell very happy with his progress defensively, and he's come up with some big hits.
Brewers will have big decisions to make on Scooter Jeanette after the season. Is this a player they want to keep or trade? As Jeanette lines one into right field, a base hit. That's going to get to the wall. And Scooter is on his way to second base. He is in with a double.
Yeah, one of those Chad Bettis curveballs. He's got a good one when he's right, and he gets on top of that curveball. Left that one a little bit up, and Scooter able to hit it hard down the line and right. 30th double of the year for Jeanette. Check it out. See, Nick Hundley wanted it away, left it middle part of the plate, and Jeanette hits it hard into right field.
Now that reaction he gave you at the end of this sprint to second base is pretty common. First time you get to the Mile High City and you run like that, you're a little bit winded. Still trying to catch his breath. Here's Ryan Braun now with a man on at second base, 1 out. And Braun on the first pitch fouls it away. Good to see Ryan back in the lineup tonight. Took 1 day off in that series against the Texas Rangers, the middle game of that one. He did come back and play in the finale on Wednesday. Was 1 for 4 in that game.
Yeah, had a sore wrist. Sat out 1 game and back at it.
0-1 pitch. Braun beats one into the ground. Arenado, the Gold Glover, makes a play. And there's out number 2. That's the other part of Arenado's game, and that was a routine play, but he is a thrill to watch play the third base position. He's as good as it gets, and he is starting to move into that class of maybe group of greatest of all time at third base, as talented as he is at third.
13 errors this year, a large portion of those throwing errors, and the interesting part of that statistic, 12 of those 13 errors have come in the second half of the season.
So the Arenado-Chris Carter showdown. First at bat for Chris Carter. Well, you know Carter would love to get a hold of one, hit one out, tie Arenado, put the pressure on him. It's a team game, but for two teams that are not going to factor in the postseason and playing out the string, this is a real interesting race to watch, the home run race in the National League. And you can't forget about Chris Bryant. Bryant and the Cubs are in Cincinnati tonight. Cubs have a 3-game series against the Reds. And Bryant is in the lineup tonight. We'll be tracking his progress. He's 0 for 2 thus far. Cubs actually just took the lead in that game, 1-0. Well, Carter has experience off Bettis, and he launched one out on Bettis. August 22nd was the date, a Monday at Miller Park. That was the 30th home run of the year for Carter. And then Nolan Arenado would come back the next day and would hit a home run, his 33rd, and then he would homer in the finale of that series, number 34. And Carter into center field, backing up on it is Blackmon, and that will retire the side. And we're off and running in Denver, Colorado, the Rockies and the Brew Crew. Brent Suter on the mound next. Big leagues. Coors Field in Denver, Colorado. Makes you want to run to the bathroom, actually. 4th season as the Rockies manager, Walt Weiss behind that railing. What a great player he was. Potawatomi batting order: Charlie Blackmon, DJ LeMahieu, Nolan Arenado at the top, and then you got Gonzalez, Hundley, and Dahl. And Cardullo, Descalso, and Bettis rounded out. First pitch from Suter is in there for a strike. Suter likes to work fast. He's very similar in that regard to Chad Bettis. And there's a bouncing ball and a base hit. And Blackmon, who checks in tonight, 5th in the National League in hitting, is on with a single.
Well, Brent Suter making his second start and first appearance as a starter, and 12 relief appearances in there. Outstanding work as a reliever. Did not allow a run in those appearances. So second time he's been able to get the starting 9 in his starting rotation. A couple of guys have been taken out of the rotation. That was Guerra and Zach Davies. So Suter gets an opportunity here tonight.
So a man on for DJ LeMahieu. LeMahieu, the league's top hitter coming in. .349 batting average. So you got 2 of the top 5 in the National League, top 2 in the Rockies order with Blackmon and LeMahieu. That's been a good battle here in the last month or so. LeMahieu and Daniel Murphy of the Nationals, who's banged up right now. You see where he ranks. He's second at on base. He's tied for second in total hits. He's got a chance at a 200 hit season. That's a bouncer to short. Arcia flips. Jeanette is taken out. Clean slide by Blackmon. And Jeanette wisely hangs on to the baseball.
Yeah, clean slide. He was able to maintain contact with second base, and it got down. Let's check out the Brewers Menards defense. You got Braun, Perez, and Santana in the outfield. Jonathan Villar at third. Orlando Arcia at short. Jeanette Carter on the right side, and Maldonado doing the catching.
So here is Nolan Arenado. Back-to-back seasons of 40 or more homers and 130 or more RBIs. He's sitting at 40 with 131 right now. He's the league leader in both of those categories. The 131 RBIs, the most by a Rockies player since Matt Holliday drove in 137 back in '07.
Yeah, the complete player, as you talked about. It's amazing the similarities between he and Carter as far as the home runs go. Both of them have 24 home runs in their home ballpark. Arenado has 1 more road home run than does Chris Carter.
Maybe the biggest difference coming into this game tonight, Carter has been hot with the home run ball in the month of September. Nolan Arenado has not. Now he's hit 40, so you take that with a grain of salt. And Arenado into center field. That's hit pretty well. On the run is Perez, and it's gone. And right away, Arenado with a 2-run home run, number 41. And it's 2-0 Colorado right out of the gate.
Right, 2 more RBIs for him. A breaking pitch from Suter. Doesn't throw very hard. I mean, he'll top out at about 85 miles an hour on a 2-1 count. And now in straightaway center field. It's 4:15 out in center. Obviously, the baseball carries very well in this ballpark. And you see Arenado waits back nicely on a breaking pitch and knocks it out of here to center field. Incredible power. He's always on balance. He has been a one-man wrecking crew against Milwaukee this year.
That's his 3rd home run of the season against the Brewers as Carlos Gonzalez takes strike 1.
And he's hitting over 500. He's now 7 for 13.
Suter doesn't have the big velocity. He uses location and deception, and he works extremely quickly to try to get the hitters in speed up mode at the plate. I'm sure at some point you'll see Rockies hitters step out. That one's off the end of the bat. Perez got a late break, and he's going to watch that one bounce. A base hit for Gonzalez.
As we always talk about when you come to Colorado, it's not so much the home run ball that gets you here. It's how deep the outfield has to play because it's such a spacious outfield, and a lot of baseballs will drop in front of outfielders just like this one. Got Hernan Perez playing deep. That one off the end of the bat, and it falls right in front of him.
A 1-out single, back-to-back hits for the Rockies. And here comes Nick Hundley. Suter drops in a big hook. Got great weather here in the Mountain Time Zone. A lot of rain over on the East Coast. Some games have been delayed to start tonight, and they are playing in some poor conditions. There's a hot shot. Wow, what a play by Jeanette. Flips to Arcia, who misses the bag. And the Brewers cannot get 2. Scooter's got to make a better flip than that. That would have been an easy double play.
Yeah, ball was hit like a bullet, and Hundley, the catcher, doesn't run all that well. He flipped an underhand. He got a little bit too much air under it, and Arcia doing a nice job making a recovery and getting the out. He actually had to tag him. Arcia over the bag, doesn't get it, but gets the tag on Gonzalez for the out.
That was a great play to get it in the glove, but the flip was not good. You need to cash in on all your opportunities for outs in this ballpark. Extra outs are poison here. Brewers should be out of the inning.
Extra outs and walks. Sometimes pitchers try to be a little bit too fine pitching here. End up walking batters, and then you give up the big homers.
Big swing and a miss by David Dahl. He's had a nice little run here in Colorado. Dahl, a .316 hitter coming in. 7 homers and 24 runs batted in. Dahl on the last road trip had a big home run, had a go-ahead homer in the 9th inning off Kenley Jansen on Sunday in LA. Rockies called him up in late July.
And hitting over 300.
Little rollover on the ground, nobody home, and Jeanette has no play. Suter was late to cover. Carter ranging over, and the Brewers are not looking very tight defensively right now.
Yeah, I think they'd just as soon get a do-over. There hasn't been any errors. But that was certainly one. You know, Carter realizing he's got to go get it, but Suter a little bit late getting over there. That'll be a base hit. And Scooter realizing that even if he gets the throw off right away, he's not going to beat Dahl to first. So the inning continues. Shaky defense for the Crew to start this one tonight. Scooter
Like
almost twisted his ankle.
at the top of the bag, right? I'm not sure why Scooter even threw that ball. Well, let's see if Suter can wiggle off this hook right now. 2 runs are in on the 2-run home run by Arenado. 4 hits in the inning, and that's a shot back up the middle. Jeanette's got this one and will go to the bag, and Cardullo is out. Not a good start for the Brew Crew tonight. 2 runs are in. Arenado goes deep. His league-leading 41st home run of the year. Here in the ballpark at Coors Field tonight. Always a great crowd of Brewers fans in this venue. A lot of transplanted Wisconsinites. Domingo Santana ready to lead off. This guy's been great in the month of September. Starting September 4th, he's hitting .321 with 6 homers and 4 doubles. So he's put some slugging percentage on the opponent. Santana has hit his way back into that everyday role in the outfield. The Brewers did have a couple of key injuries in the outfield in September with Keon Broxton and Kirk Neuenhuis.
It came at an important time for Santana. I mean, he had to realize he had to figure himself out, and the Brewers now know going into the season next year that Santana is 100%. The shoulder, the elbow, swinging the bat well.
Brewers find themselves down 2-0. Nolan Arenado with a 2-run homer, extending his National League lead.
His 25th home run at home this year. Bettis has the four-seamer, the cut fastball. He just threw a cutter to Santana, the curveball and the slider. That's a 4-pitch pitcher. He's actually going to throw a changeup as well, which gives him 5, so he mixes it up pretty well. Been a good year for him.
27 years of age out of Lubbock, Texas. Santana strikes out up the ladder with a fastball. That's about as much as you'll get out of a fastball for Bettis. He might hit 93 occasionally, but he's a good, savvy pitcher, and like many other pitchers we've seen, he is using the upper half of the strike zone and even higher, the shoulder high fastball, to get a lot of swings and misses. Perez with a big swing and a miss.
And the Rockies have won a lot of games with Bettis on the mound. Now the Rockies have won 15 of Bettis's last 19 starts.
That one misses down and away. Yeah, Bettis got both his first major league shutout and complete game against the Giants at Coors Field. Pitched a shutout here in this venue. That was on September 5th. That is noteworthy. There's a base hit just inside the line. Perez will send one to right on his way to second base. And Hernan Perez in with a one-out double. Good piece of hitting there by Perez.
And that's what he does. I mean, he uses right field extremely well. Looked like that ball might have been by him, but yeah, able to put a good swing on it on a 1-1 pitch. And Bettis throws a lot of strikes. You got to go up there ready to swing. You can see where he makes contact almost off that back foot. Able to whistle one just inside that right field line. Good piece of hitting by Perez.
There's the spray chart for Hernan Perez. He's great up the middle and the right field. He's had a terrific season.
Yeah, a lot of those right field hits, I would imagine, in the right center.
Here's Orlando Arcia now, and he takes the first pitch up and in. That is the first ball on a first pitch that Bettis has thrown to a Brewer hitter. Had hit on his first 6. Arcia hitting at .213. Chance to pick up an RBI here. Way inside a ball. 2-0 the count.
Pitching inside a lot with that four-seamer. Opens up that outside corner for the curveball and a cutter.
Well, you got to get the idea here with Bettis. He's a pitcher's pitcher, and when he's right, he will pitch backwards, meaning he'll give you changeups, curveballs, and fastball counts, and vice versa. Has confidence in multiple pitches, and that's what keeps the hitter off balance. There's a jam shot. That fastball got in on his hands, and Arcia a little weak pop up to first base.
And that's what teams have been doing to Orlando quite a bit, pitching him in. Got in on his hands right there, and a fastball count.
Arcia retired. 2 gone now, and it'll be Martin Maldonado. Brewer catcher had a good series down in Arlington against the Rangers. Pushed his batting average up over 200. In that series against Texas, Maldonado got 2 starts. Had 4 hits in the series, was 4 for 7. Interesting note about Maldonado, the Brewers overall are 17 games under 500. But in games he starts, and he has started a lot since the Lucroy trade, the Brewers are actually a game over 500. They are 31-30.
Well, team's been playing some pretty good baseball in that stretch. I mean, August, September have been 2 pretty good months for the crew.
One ball, 1 strike on Maldonado. Got a runner at second, Perez. And that one's inside for a ball. Bettis has career highs in wins, starts, innings pitched, and strikeouts this season. His 60th major league start. Little half swing. Did he go? He did not. Able to check his swing, says the base umpire. Brent Suter on deck. Brewers would love to get him up to the plate, and it looks like the Rockies are going to go ahead and walk Maldonado. Got into a hitter's count, and Walt Weiss not wanting to take any chances here with the pitcher coming up.
That's one thing that Maldy's very good at, Maldonado, drawing walks. I mean, he's a pretty good eye at the plate. He's shown that if not for the Brewers, he might very well have proven that he could be an everyday guy. I mean, the batting average might be a little prohibitive, but he will run into a home run every now and again.
Well, Brent Suter with his first ever major league at bat. This is only his 2nd start. He's been pitching out of the bullpen. His other start came against the Mariners in Seattle. There was the designated hitter in effect. So doing something now he has never done, and there's a bouncer over to Arenado, and he'll hit the man at second to end the inning. Made contact. Inning is over. 2-0 Rockies as we go to the bottom of the 2nd inning. Baseball on Fox Sports Wisconsin is brought to you by Hupy and Abraham.
Rockies have a 2-0 lead over the Brewers here at Coors Field. Brent Suter making just his second major league start. He's told me he went through his normal starting routine after making 2 innings pitched on Sunday against the Reds, was able to go through his normal routine. And Craig Counsell says that Suter really kind of defies the plan of what you're looking for when you move a guy into the bullpen. He said typically you're looking for an increase in velocity or getting a guy back to throwing strikes, but he said Suter was really effective coming out of the pen. 12 scoreless appearances for him. And so he said really when you're looking at a guy as a starter or reliever with what they're trying to figure out with Suter, he has to answer that question of can he get through the third time through a lineup. Suter said that's where he struggled in his first start against Seattle.
Well, and he's a guy that proved that he could be effective out of the bullpen. And I think he set himself up well for a chance at the major league roster next season. And obviously the Brewers think highly of him, high enough that they give him this start today. There's a swing and a line drive back up the middle by Descalso, a single to start the second inning.
Well, he's not that prototypical lefty out of the bullpen. He doesn't have the stuff to be able to really be effective against left-handed batters. You know, 2 lefties have hits on him here tonight. Dahl with that infield hit. Now Descalso with a base hit. And Gonzalez with one as well. So 3 left-handed batters in the lineup have hits.
5 hits already.
Bullpen, yeah, if you're a left-hander in the bullpen, you have to be able to get lefties out.
So here's the pitcher, Bettis, who shows bunt. Has 4 sacrifice bunts, not hitting for much of an average. He's not a threat at the plate. Batting average at 0.42 on the season. Gets a bunt down. That's a good one. And that'll be a sacrifice. Carter will put the tag on Bettis. And it will advance Descalso. So the Rockies advance a runner into scoring position. And they go back to the top of the order now.
And matter of fact, Blackman, a left-handed batter, has a base hit too. So all the lefties have hits on Brent Suter.
The bearded one, Charlie Blackmon. Got the best beard in the big leagues, no question. There's a lot going on there. That's like U.S. Open rough. 30 years of age, Charlie Blackmon. He grew up just outside the Atlanta area. He has been a very good player here for the Colorado Rockies. Made an all-star team a couple of years ago. He has a career batting average of .296 in 6 major league seasons. He's hitting .319 this year. That's the highest batting average he's ever had in the majors.
A lot of good sticks in this lineup for the Rockies. I mean, they lead the league in batting average, runs scored. They basically try and outslug you, and they score a lot of runs. You know, with Bettis on the mound, almost 7.
There's a base hit into left field. This is going to bring a run home. So Blackmon is 2 for 2, and an RBI single makes it 3-0 Colorado.
Yeah, the location has to be pinpoint for Brent Suter. He gets a pitch up in the strike zone, whether it be a left-hander or a right-hander, and he's in trouble. That's really not a bad pitch down and away, but Blackmon able to get enough of it, dump it out in the left. And a run in, Descalso able to score. So left-handers doing a lot of damage against Suter.
Blackmon is now 2 for 2. He is a threat to run, Blackmon. Set career highs in the power numbers, home runs and RBIs, doubles. But he's not running as much as he has in the past. He stole 43 bases last year, did Blackmon. He has only 17 this season. 3-0 Rockies. DJ LeMahieu at the plate. Suter checks on him. As you would imagine, Suter has a very good move and a variance of moves to first base. Imperative that he keeps runners close. And there goes Blackmon. Maldonado's throw to second base. Not in time. A steal for Charlie Blackmon, his 18th.
He had a walking lead. I mean, Suter really never slowed him down, and had a big lead to start. Had a great jump going on the first move. Even a good throw by Maldonado, not in time. That is a terrific move, or a terrific jump. And Blackman able to steal it.
Now, good throw by Maldonado to even make it close. And Craig Counsell believes that Blackman didn't get to the bag. He's asking for a challenge here. Let's watch the foot of Blackman. I don't know. Got him on the thigh, on the back of the thigh.
Yeah, Scooter in front of the bag, had to reach back. That always takes a little bit extra time. But apparently they saw something on that replay that is going to initiate a review. Let's see if we can see it here.
Oh, he got him on the shoe. Yeah, he's out. He got him on the back foot right there.
Did he? It's hard to tell on that angle.
And he is out. The call has been overturned.
It did get him on the shoe. Good call. Good eyesight there, partner. Well done.
When you slow it down to those speeds, I am a very good umpire.
I didn't
Watch
see
the back foot here.
The throw,
right.
the glove right there, right on the toe, and he gets him.
Yeah.
Tough to see with the naked eye.
That's a good job by the Brewers replay crew to spot that, go for the challenge.
And they don't have a lot of time to determine whether they should go to that review or not.
Yeah, big controversy yesterday, as a matter of fact. There's a fly ball to right. Santana will run it down. He makes a catch, and the inning is over. Rockies add to their lead. They score on an RBI single by Blackman. 3-0 Colorado. Cardinals, Giants, Mets all fighting for a wild card. This ball bounced up and hit the row of advertisements. Matt Carpenter came all the way around to score on what was ruled as a walk-off double, and the Cardinals won that game. But the problem began right there because, as Rock mentioned, there is a time restraint on when you can challenge plays. You're supposed to get 30 seconds, but at the end of an inning, it's 10 seconds, and you have to let them know. Now, we have not seen that enforced all year. As a matter of fact, it's gone the other way,
right,
where umpires are giving managers way too much time at the end of innings. And last night, the umpires hit the road.
Yeah.
And they were nowhere to be found, and that has been a huge topic of discussion all across baseball today. VR pops one up into foul territory, and it's caught by Descalso.
Yeah, it should have been a ground rule double because that wall, that advertising wall back there, is set back behind the regular wall. That's Brian Price trying to track down the umpires. Now that wall back there with the advertising is out of play. That's over the fence. And the Cardinals scored the run. The game was over. Actually, the Reds beat the Brewers at Miller Park on a play that they got a review well after the 30-second time frame. That's a big game. That's a big win for the Cardinals. I mean, they're in the thick of a wild card chase.
And the Giants beat the Rockies last night as Jeanette rolls one foul. So all of that transpired last night. That was actually a tight ball game between the Rockies and the Giants. It was 2-2, but San Francisco pulled away. It was a key error actually by Arenado that opened up the inning. Giants won 7-2. So the Giants still are 1 game clear of the Cardinals with 3 games to play. And the Mets are 2 clear. And right now the Mets would host the Giants in the wild card game in the National League on Wednesday. Going to come right down to the end. This is great drama. And remember, every game on Sunday begins at 3 p.m. Eastern. So we'll be underway at 1 o'clock here locally, 2 o'clock in Milwaukee. All games, all 15 games will start at the same time. And that is going to present, you would imagine, some tremendous finishes.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's a good rule. I like that rule. Last game of the season, that doesn't give the West Coast teams any advantage. You know, the East Coast games are done. Say the Mets lose or Cardinals lose, the Giants certainly would adjust what they're going to do.
West Coast teams will start at 1 o'clock. East Coast teams at 3 o'clock. And if you're wondering, the final matchups of the year, so we told you the Giants are hosting the Dodgers all weekend. Rich Hill tonight against Madison Bumgarner. Great matchup there. There's a roller at first. Here is Cardullo. He makes a nice play. And there is out number 2. Scooter Gennett retired. Bettis with 2 quick outs here in the 3rd inning.
So even with replay, sometimes they get them wrong. Question is, did the umpire not see where it bounced or wasn't sure of the rule?
And the fact that he didn't really give him a chance to have a replay or have a challenge.
Right.
Now it's the big discussion. Not to say the Cardinals wouldn't have scored. I mean, the next hitter could have certainly driven in the run, but
you don't know.
You'd still like to have that chance. I think the lasting image of that Cincinnati-St. Louis game was Brian Price running into the tunnel that the umpires go to exit into their locker room. Braun swinging at the first pitch.
I have to remember that game against the Brewers, Cincinnati at Miller Park. Remember the double play that was turned to end an inning. Scooter Gennett didn't have his foot on the bag, and then the Reds able to score the winning run. That was late in the game.
And that was just the opposite of what we saw last night. The umpires gave Brian Price an inordinate amount of time that ended the inning to come back. Matter of fact, they were almost ready to start the next inning. So that's probably going to be one they'll go back to the drawing board and define a little clearer. I've always said, and I know we've had this conversation even going back to last year when replay was introduced, and it seems unusual that the burden falls on the manager and the replay review personnel of the clubs. The umpires should police all of that themselves.
Right.
They're the ones making the calls. You take that out of the manager's hands. I think a challenge system is still okay, but once you get past the 7th inning, the umpires should be checking everything. And they obviously weren't. And do it in real time.
Right. Maybe have somebody at the ballpark that's looking at those things. There's certainly enough camera angles.
There's a swing and a miss, and Braun strikes out. The inning is over. And a 3-up, 3-down inning for Chad Bettis. 3-0 Rockies. 2 in the first on an Arenado 2-run homer, and then just got their 3rd run last inning on a Charlie Blackmon RBI single. Arenado now with 41 on the year. Bryant and Carter sitting on 39. One of the most dangerous hitters in the game, Nolan Arenado, but he still has to deal with the Coors Field asterisk. And that's just the way it's always been here, the way it's going to be. There are a lot of hits in this ballpark. The ball does travel well. It's not to say that Arenado wouldn't have big numbers elsewhere, but I don't believe he would have these numbers elsewhere. And they will defend that notion to the death here in Colorado.
Right.
And they feel like Arenado is he should be the MVP this year in the National League. And with the numbers that he has, you could make that argument.
Yeah, without doubt. But there are some guys, particularly in Chicago, that feel as though they should be MVPs. And the Cubs, best record in baseball.
Yeah,
Rockies have a team batting average coming into play today at 303 here at home.
A little jam shot. That's a base hit. This is going to be an extra base hit. Arenado on his way to second with a double. Well, that's a bad break for Suter. Got in on his hands, but he's able to muscle it into right field.
Good pitch. I mean, eats him up inside, and kind of a fist job, a little funny spin on it inside the the first base bag, and by the time Santana gets to it, he's way around toward the gap. Arenado is not a guy that goes to the opposite field all that often. Able to fist one down the right field line.
So it's a leadoff double. Rockies have had their leadoff batter reach base via a hit in each of the first 3 innings. Here's Carlos Gonzalez now, who singled his last time up.
Now, just to finish the point about the Coors Field effect, that the Rockies' home batting average 303, on the road 246. That's a big difference.
2-0 the count to Cargo. Runner at second, Arenado, and that's a strike from Suter. Home and road splits for the Rockies. See their home record up over 500. They've struggled on the road, much like the Brewers have this season. And yeah, the offensive numbers jump off the page at you. A major difference, home and road.
And team earned run average a lot different.
In the air, shallow center. Perez a long way to go. He's got this one. And Arenado will retreat. Yeah, so maybe Perez starting to settle in a little bit at the center field position. First one he played very cautious, and Gonzalez dropped one in front of him on a pitch off the end of the bat.
Yeah, those big swings that end up off the end of the bat like that will freeze a guy, even an experienced outfielder. But for a guy like Perez playing center field, just started doing that, able to make that adjustment much better than the first time Gonzalez hit one out there.
So 1 gone, runner at second base. And here's Nick Hundley, and that's into center field, a base hit. Coming in Perez. Arenado coming home. The throw is all the way through and not in time. And it's 4-0 Colorado, and they just keep hitting. They've scored in every inning. 2 more hits here in the 3rd.
Another pitch up in the strike zone. He just cannot afford to be up in his zone with, the way he's throwing the baseball. He's throwing about 85 miles an hour, 86 up there, and even off the end of the bat. Todd Hundley able to, or I should say Nick Hundley able to drive in a run. Got to be down in the zone, get some ground ball outs.
So 1 away. And here's David Dahl now. Reached on an infield hit. Should have been an out in the first. Suter was late to cover. Dahl on the first pitch. Fly ball to left, and Braun is there for the out. 2 gone. And all the hitting advantages you have here at Coors Field, it's the disadvantage for the pitcher as well. Pitchers will tell you the ball feels a little heavier because of the humidifier, and curveballs don't break like you normally see them in other ballparks or ballparks that are closer to sea level. That's just the way baseball is here. And for the Rockies, they have long since tried to find the formula to be contending teams, and they had a nice little run. They had a good run in the 90s, and then they went to the World Series in '07.
Well, they did change their philosophy as far as pitchers go. More the sinker slider guys than as opposed to the guys that rely on the big curveball, because those pitches are difficult to be able to command and keep down in the zone here. And it's a discussion that every visiting team has when they come in here. Same discussion. And it's been that way from the beginning of this ballpark, and it always will be. The effect of the altitude on everything that goes on in this ballpark.
It's a beautiful place.
Just ask the guys that played in Colorado Springs in that Brewers dugout. They'll tell you.
Which is actually higher than the Mile High City here.
But I guess if anybody should be used to it, would be Brent Suter.
Right. He pitched there and pitched effectively in Colorado Springs. I think it's about 1,000 feet higher in Colorado Springs to sea level than it is here. There's a base hit. Cardullo with a single to right. 3 more hits for the Rockies here in the 3rd. And it's starting to look like a short night for Brent Suter.
Well, you figured it was going to be a short night to start with, but this might be a little bit shorter than he anticipated. Brewers have 11 relievers down in the bullpen.
Good news here at Colorado. A 4-run deficit is a lot easier to come back from. It's been done often. Starting to stir in that sizable Brewers bullpen down there in the forest. Plenty of options for Craig Counsell. 2 on, 2 out. Here is Descalso.
Very relaxing bullpen out there. You ever been out there? Check it out.
I have. It's great. Got the fountains going.
Waterfalls, the rapids out there. Just a nice place to relax.
With the blue spruces. The Douglas firs. There's a throw to second and out at second. Oh, Maldonado. He has cut down 2 Rockies at the bag. Not sure what Hundley was thinking there, but he buys an out for his pitcher and gets out of the inning. Beautiful throw right on a line to Arcia. Good start for the Brewers tonight as we head to the 4th inning. Carsoup.com trivia tonight, partner. Who was the first Brewers player to lead the league or tie the league in home runs?
Nice. Good one.
Well, Chris Carter has a chance to do that. Brewers are going to have to figure out how to slow down Nolan Arenado, though. He's hit a 2-run homer tonight. Carter is at 39 with Arenado now at 41. Yeah, he'd be all smiles if you were Arenado as well. 2 hits tonight, a home run and a double. Carter leads the way. 4th inning from Coors Field. So Pat Valleca will come in to play short.
Yeah, Descanso over to second base. LeMahieu's going.
Yeah, LeMahieu, to keep an eye on that situation. LeMahieu is leading the league in hitting right now. We'll see if we can get an update on why LeMahieu is out. Unless they're protecting the batting average, he's down to 348.
That's 1 point ahead of Daniel Murphy.
And Murphy's not playing for the Nationals, so maybe he's going to shut it down. Maybe he's going to go the opposite of Ted Williams. High fly ball, deep right center field, and Chris Carter has sent one out of here. So Arenado in the first, Carter in the 4th, number 40.
And perhaps a lot of differences between Arenado and Carter, but Chris Carter with a lot of opposite field home runs, that one in right center. Nolan Arenado pulls just about every one of his home runs. Of course, he hit one to center field here tonight on a 3-1 pitch. Chris Carter knocks one out of here into the bullpens in right center. Second home run of the season against Chad Bettis.
Look out, up and in to Santana. Boy, Carter hit that a ton, and in this light air, that ball flies out of here to the opposite field. That's where the big slugging left-handed hitters go out there, to the back of the bullpen.
Almost 450 feet. A bomb.
40 home run season. How about that? Chris Carter. Boy, what a year. There's a strike to Santana.
Yeah, checking out that right center field fence. It's been raised this year. It was never that high. It goes right along the lines of where it is right down the line in right. Never used to be that high. And it didn't have any effect on that home run for Chris Carter. You can see how high that is.
Trying to cut down a little bit on the home run, right. I suppose.
That's new this year.
Keeping him in play. A high wall all the way around from center field to the right field pole. 2-2 count. Santana takes a ball. Raised that wall 8 feet from last year. So you don't pull any home runs back from that side of the field. Santana into left center. That's going to get down and roll all the way to the wall. And Santana on his way to second. He'll stop there. Had a big turn.
Yeah, good decision, down by 3 runs. You don't want to be making the first out at third base. So good decision by Santana, who just stays hot. He's been swinging the bat well. Double number 14. You got to go down in the catcher's position to catch his breath. Cut fastball from Bettis. Rips it into the gap. And out of breath at second base.
I don't know if the Brewers brought the oxygen tanks, but a couple of these guys could use them. Those lungs are on fire right now. I feel your pain, Domingo. I went to the workout room today, Rock. I couldn't even get through my normal workout. There's a bouncer. Oh, what a play by Arenado. And look at this throw. Man, oh man. This guy is so good defensively. Not only does he take a hit away and an RBI, but then he makes a quick release to get the out. The first out of the inning, and Santana has to stay put.
Yeah, just got rid of it so quickly. And even though he really didn't have to, he had Perez running. He gets down that line really well, but he gets it quickly, a flip of the wrist, and see Perez barely in the shot. And by the time that ball's at first base, that's a tremendous play. Taking an RBI away from Hernan Perez.
Inside move and a snap tag on Santana. He's back. Now, once the Rockies traded Troy Tulowitzki to the Blue Jays last year, there was some discussion that Carlos Gonzalez now becomes the face, but it didn't last long because this is the guy who will carry this franchise for the next few years. Great glove, great bat, all-star, gold glover, silver slugger type player.
And why would a hitter leave this ballpark?
Right. Orlando Arcia now with a runner at second. Brewers would love to cash another one in here. They are 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. And this one's going to carry out to shallow right. And Gonzalez makes a catch for the out.
I guess the only reason you'd leave Colorado is if he felt as though he had a chance to win a world championship somewhere else. At some point, every player wants to do that. Want to be in a position to do that. Even a guy like Arenado, who, if he would choose to leave this ballpark, might not be able to put up the numbers. He'd still be a tremendous hitter. That's what everybody plays for, the ring.
Gonna work around Maldonado again to face the pitcher Suter.
I guess you play for the ring once you establish that you have set yourself up financially for life.
Yeah.
And then once you get that, that's basically your second contract. Then you're thinking about winning a ring. First things first.
And then if you want to go really big picture, there's the Todd Helton effect. Can you make it to the Hall of Fame playing your entire career with the Colorado Rockies offensively? You know, that's always been a stigma. The same reason the MVP voting and the discussions we're having, because your numbers have to be so far and away. It's going to be a curious vote when Helton comes around.
Yeah, there weren't too many better. Although Helton's numbers on the road not too bad either.
No, great player here. Defense too. Well, here is Suter. So the Brewer pitcher will get another shot here to swing the bat. Suter at AAA did hit. He was 4 for 17. He was a starting pitcher at Colorado Springs, so pitchers bat in AAA. Had 4 hits. That includes a double. He did drive in a run. He's looking for his first major league hit here in this game tonight. First time he's ever batted in the big leagues.
And a base hit doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a run. The outfield pretty shallow for Colorado, as you would expect with a pitcher up.
No balls, 2 strikes. 2 on for the Brewers, and Suter takes a ball. Brewers do have good speed at second base in Santana. One and 2 the count. Suter able to stay alive. A foul tip. Recognized the pitch though. That's a good sign.
He kept the hands back, swung so late he almost got a piece of Hundley's glove.
Oh, well, play for the catcher's interference, I guess. That was a strong strategy for me in my day.
Swing late and go after the glove. It's a way on, right?
1 and 2 the count. And Suter lines one foul. Starting to make better contact though. You figure if there's a base hit in it for Suter, it's going to have to come to left field. Santana doubled. Maldonado was walked. And Suter strikes out to end the inning. So that'll do it. Brewers are done in the 4th. However, the matchup of home run hitters, Arenado and Carter, has just got a little more intrigue. Arenado with a 2-run shot in the 1st. Carter goes deep in the 4th. Separated by 1 once again.
to Denver and Coors Field as the Rockies have a 4-1 lead here in the fourth. Time now for our T-Mobile greater coverage of baseball. Miguel Cabrera just continues on a hot streak. He hit home runs number 307 and 308 for the Tigers, passing Hank Greenberg for third most in team history. And another slugger, David Ortiz, has now recorded his fourth season of 125 RBIs or more, second behind only Ted Williams and Mark Trumbo. Outfielder for the Orioles tonight, he extends his major league lead in home runs, 47 on the night, his previous season high 34. So the home run derby continues across Major League Baseball in the final regular season weekend.
Yeah, the ball is flying this year for sure. Thank you, Sophia. How about that trade by the Orioles? Steve Clevenger for Mark Trumbo.
Right, huh?
Wow.
Who would have thought?
Having a great year, Trumbo. Orioles are hoping they are postseason bound this year. They're in that dogfight for the wild card spot. They actually lead tonight 8-1 over the Yankees.
I think David Ortiz rethinking that retirement thing.
You know, everybody asked him that.
125 RBIs, he's going to retire.
And he says, I'm not even thinking about rethinking it. Descalso leads away. Suter up the ladder, strikes him out. And for the first time tonight, he has retired the leadoff batter.
I guess that's the way you want to go out, right? Go out on top. But it's got to be tough, knowing you can still get it done.
Ortiz and the Red Sox are trailing the Blue Jays tonight, 3-1. It's a big game for Toronto as well. Boston's already secured a division title, but you got Toronto, Baltimore, the Tigers, all battling for that wild card spot. That's what it looks like currently. Tigers only one back in the loss column, and the Mariners are hanging around, albeit by a thread. There are only 3 games left, and they're 2 games back, so they're going to need a lot of help. Matter of fact, Baltimore and Toronto can close out Seattle tonight. There's a chopper over to third base. VR ranges over and lobs one to first for the second out.
Hey, don't miss your chance to hear from the minds behind the Brewers as David Stearns, Craig Counts, and Rick Schlesinger participate in a special Inside the Brewers Town Hall meeting at Miller Park on Thursday, November 3rd. Visit Brewers.com to learn more about this free event at the ballpark.
David Stearns and Matt Arnold are in the ballpark tonight, traveling with the team, and they've got some meetings. Been a lot of announcements made the last few days. The Brewers restructured their scouting department, and today they made announcements about player development contracts, PDCs they call them, for minor league cities. So the Brewers will be back in Colorado Springs for 2 more years. They had to sign that deal, and they're excited about the notion that they have found a single A home in Carolina, the Carolina Mudcats.
The first time a Brewer minor league franchise is in the Carolina League.
So you got the 2 A-ball franchises in the Brewer system now will be the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers in the Midwest League, and then the Carolina Mudcats. AA Biloxi, AAA Colorado Springs.
Rich Suter, everybody but the home plate umpire thought that was strike 3.
Yeah, everybody was running off. 2-2 the count to Blackman. That one's inside for a ball. Suter trying to have a 3-up, 3-down inning for the first time tonight. Blackman has 2 hits off of him tonight, including an RBI single last inning. He chops one foul. Three and 2 the count on Blackman. Third at bat. 2 outs in the inning, and Blackman gets jammed and fouls it away. Well, that was right in on the knuckles. Seen 7 pitches. Suter thought he had struck him out a moment ago.
Yeah, thought he had him struck out on the 4th pitch. And now Blackman has got it to a full count.
Pitch number 8 of the at-bat. Rockies with 9 hits already against Suter. 4 runs in. Brewers just scored on the top of this inning on a Carter homer. That's right off the end of the bat. Suter is over and flips one to no one in particular. I thought for a moment there Suter had a chance to just pick it up and tag Blackman.
He was just going hard to the line, and I think it was a little bit not under control. You can't blame him, but he felt as though his only chance was that backhand flip, barehanded. That's going to be a base hit for sure. Might have gone foul too. He was going too hard to be able to stop and make a tag there. Good effort. Nothing lost.
High level of creativity. Quick trip to the mound for Derek Johnson.
Yeah, just to give him a time to, maybe catch his breath. Charlie Blackman winning a 10-pitch at bat.
Charlie Blackman is 3 for 3 tonight. So it'll bring up Pat Valleca, who is in the game for DJ LeMahieu. Curious pull of LeMahieu. LeMahieu leads the league in batting right now. He was 0 for 2 in this game and dropped his batting average to .348. He is still 1 point ahead of Daniel Murphy. This is a close play at first. Brent Suter turned to the dugout and wants them to take a look at it. He thinks he's out. Craig Counsell asked the umpire to give him a moment.
No reaction from Chris Carter with that's not unusual.
Counsell still has a challenge. He issued a challenge and the call was overturned, so he still has one to give if he wants. Awaiting word from his clubhouse. Pat Murphy is on the phone.
He's got a really good move, the step-off move.
They tagged him on the hip. Or on the back. Question was the hand in there? Counsell says too close for a challenge, so we'll play on. First at bat for Valleca. So just looking at this batting race, you have Daniel Murphy, who has not played a game for the Nationals since the 20th of September. He's been out with an injury. Has a strained buttocks. And he is going to play in the postseason, but they're going to shut him down until game 1 of the NLDS. And I think that raised a few eyebrows here in Colorado. And so they're going to be cautious with Murphy. Now LeMahieu drops to 1 point above Murphy after 2 at-bats, and he was taken out of the game. I wonder if we'll see him again the rest of this series.
It might not. And, looking at the big picture with Daniel Murphy, I mean, that's missing a lot of time between live at-bats going into postseason. If, in fact, he's able to play even a game or two, just to maybe get his eye back. But it's not that easy to sit around for 3 weeks or a couple of weeks and expect to be able to turn it on. We'll see.
Well, not only does Murphy lead his team in batting average, second in the league, as I mentioned, he is the club leader in homers as well. So it's not just the batting average you're getting, it's the production. He's hit 25 homers, Murphy, and has 104 runs batted in this season. He's had a huge year. He is, I think, in the MVP conversation. At least he was before the injury. I think Chris Bryant is going to win that award this year.
I think that MVP is going to come out of Chicago.
Another throw to first. Blackmon is back. Go to first, and they got him. Suter just kept the pressure on, and Blackmon is cut down again. The third Rockies base runner to be eliminated on the base paths. Oh, good work, Suter. He was going to stay on the base stealer. Blackmon had him hesitating, and yeah, that's an easy call. Effort. He has given up 4 runs, but that is not insurmountable here at Coors Field, and he just picked off Charlie Blackmon to win the inning. So here we go to the 5th. 4-1 our score. VR on the first pitch, bounces one to Descalso at second base, and there's out number 1. Hey, a reminder, you can join Fox Sports Wisconsin Sunday, October 2nd. That's this Sunday, starting at 12:30 p.m. for the 4th annual Milwaukee Bucks Open Practice and Fan Fest at BMO Harris Bradley Center. Get your first glimpse of the team, a chance for autographs with players, coaches, and broadcasters. You can stop by the Fox Sports Wisconsin photo booth and more. Admission is free, and visit foxsportswisconsin.com/events for more details. Make sure you go get the autograph of Joe Prunty, assistant coach. We need a full rush of autograph seekers for Joe Prunty. He'll be amazed.
Why is that?
Well, he's a friend of ours, and I'd like for people to go ask him for his autograph.
Are you going to go?
Make him feel better. I'll be here in Denver.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, 2nd.
Yeah,
that's right.
Day
Sunday.
after tomorrow.
I'm sorry.
It's already October.
I really didn't pay attention. I was trying to wrap my hands around this Daniel Murphy LeMahieu situation.
Yeah.
I guess I don't blame LeMahieu for sitting out if that's indeed why he got taken out of the ball game. But I'll tell you one thing, what will get him back in the lineup is if miraculously Daniel Murphy got in the game tomorrow and got 3 hits.
Yes, it would. There's a bouncing ball to first. Jeanette rolls out. 2 up and 2 down for Chad Bettis.
But I guess if I'm Dusty Baker in the Nationals, I got to be concerned if, getting into the postseason, Nationals are already banged up. I mean, they got guys that aren't going to be able to even compete in the postseason, but you would think that they would want to, at some point, get Murphy some live at bats before the playoff.
Yeah.
If possible.
Well, Murphy is injured, and there could be some pinch hit appearances possibly for him, but it's interesting, if you look at the at bats as we see Ryan Braun step in, DJ LeMahieu has 20 more at-bats this season than Murphy does. So he's actually played more than Murphy. And then there's the question, and I think Ted Williams set the standard. He played sitting on a 400 batting average. He played both ends of a doubleheader and had 5 hits and hit .406 in 1941. That's an easy inning for Bettis. 3 up, 3 down, 3 ground ball outs. We go to the bottom of the 5th at Coors Field.
Here in the 5th, a beautiful night in Denver, and the Brewers Community Foundation is once again pleased to share it has received 100% participation from Brewers players, ownership, and front office staff, along with a significant number of fans and sponsors. Thanks for supporting BCF in its efforts to assist the community in the areas of health, education, recreation, and basic needs. And a tip of the cap to Cecilia Gore and Katina Shaw and all the work that they do with BCF.
No question, they've done a great job, and the Brewers players have been engaged in that process all season long. Terrific charities benefiting all year long. Well, Suter is back out there. Tyler Cravey is loosening in the bullpen. Valleca was at the plate when Blackman was picked off. So Suter will try to get through 5. That is slapped down the right field line. Foul, just foul. Didn't miss that line by much. Cravey continues to loosen. I would imagine, if you want to think along with Craig Counsell, if Suter gives up a base runner, maybe 2, then it's going to be Cravey's game. But if Suter can get through this inning 1, 2, 3, or maybe allow only 1 base runner, he might be allowed to try to stay. We'll see how it goes here. There's a swing and a foul back. Valleca took a big cut.
Yeah, Cravey, a starting pitcher by trade, so it takes him a little bit longer to get loose than a normal relief pitcher.
Under the watchful eye of Lee Tunnell down there.
Doesn't look like he's in too much of a hurry.
You see, Lee in his left hand has the clicker. So not only do the Brewers count every pitch in a game, but they count every pitch in the bullpen as well.
Everything's counted, documented, you name it. It all counts.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Valleca. And he got him a foul tip into the mid of Maldonado and a strikeout.
Changeup, I think. 77 miles, a changeup gets him on a pitch up in the zone. Now the fun begins.
Yeah, here comes Nolan Arenado now. This home run race has been fun to watch. Each have hit a homer in this game, Arenado and Carter. By month, that home run Arenado hit in the first inning was just his 5th. Carter has 10 in the month of September. Carter's went to deep right center field to the back of the Brewers bullpen. Arenado's home run went to deep center field. Now 41 homers, 133 runs batted in. Big swing and a miss.
And pretty much of a dead pull hitter. All but 2 of his home runs have been considered to be opposite field home runs. He did hit one to center field. That one doesn't count. We're talking about right center around to the right field line. So he pulls most of his homers. As opposed to Chris Carter, he hits them all over the plate, line to line. Not that that matters. Just the way it is.
Arenado stands right on top of the plate. So your outside corner pitch to him is right about middle of the zone, and he really dives in there. Oh, Suter thought he had a strikeout. Put it right on the edge. Didn't get the call, and the count is 2-2.
Not getting those close pitches, is he?
And a pitcher in this ballpark who needs close pitches. Back out there, and a called strike 3. Got that one. Arenado is a strikeout victim, and Suter is getting stronger here. Back-to-back Ks. Now has 3 punch-outs for the game.
No, he got this one. This one had the corner written all over it. That was that cut fastball, the slider. And Arenado knew it. As soon as that ball was caught, he took off back to the dugout.
Yeah, the little cutter. That was a good sequence there. Fox track showing the pitch cluster to Arenado. Everything outside, and the 2 strike pitches outside corner and down at the knees. Little half swing by Gonzalez. That is going to roll, and it misses the base, and it's a foul ball. Look at Suter's reaction.
Just jumping up and down, happy, isn't he? He got to the third base line like a shot. Check it out. Watch the reaction after this ball rolls foul.
That's a Harvard man making a wise choice. Look at him. No. Look at him smiling. I just figured it out, Rock. Brent Suter is the Hunter Pence of pitchers.
There you go. Nice. I'll give you that.
What a great reaction. He looked like a 12-year-old. Did you see that? Fly ball left field. Braun is over, and he's got it. And Suter gets through 5. 3 up and 3 down. He's a character. Fun to watch. Impressive. He gets through 5. Having a chat there with Derek Johnson. A lot of handshakes and high fives after that inning. And Chris Carter ready to lead the way. We go to the 6th inning. Powerball home run number 40 for Chris Carter. That came back in the 4th inning. It came to lead off the 4th, as a matter of fact. Answered the Arenado home run in the 1st inning.
It'll be fun to watch this race as the weekend goes on.
So Carter one behind the league leader Arenado, and there's strike one to Bettis. So for Brewers franchise numbers, players with 40 home runs in a season, Carter is the 6th. And it is the 8th occasion for the 40 home runs. Showing some pretty good company there. Carter would still like to see his batting average rise, see the strikeouts cut down, but well, you can't argue with the power. That ball's laced into left field. That is way back there, and that ball is one hopped off the fence. And Chris Carter is into second base with a double.
Every hit the Brewers have tonight for extra bases, not a single, if you will, so far tonight. And doubles and a home run. Boy, Carter, nice quick hands and hits that one a ton. He gets under a little bit. That's number 41. It's such a nice, easy swing. It's amazing. Not the power, but the amount of times he strikes out with a nice, easy swing like that. We've been talking about that all season. But you know what? You can take the strikeouts when you get 40 homers.
Here's Santana now. Pitches inside. Santana has one of those extra base hits. He doubled in the 4th. Jeanette, Santana, Perez, and Carter just a moment ago with the doubles. And then Carter has the home run. Those are the 5 Brewer hits. Santana down the line, snagged by Arenado. The throw is in time. Wow. He just does it every night.
You can see maybe why he's got the 12 errors in the second half. I mean, a couple of times it looked as though he could have gotten up and made a much easier throw. I mean, this ball, a bullet down the line. He really could have, he had time to get up and make a throw. He throws it from his knees, and probably that is why right there that he has the errors. But another tremendous play by Arenado, saving another run. He saved 2 runs tonight with a play just like that. Robbed Perez early in the game.
So 1 away, and here's Perez, and that's a base hit into left field. And Carter's going to wind it up. They're going to try to score him. Here comes the throw to the plate, and Carter is out. Perfect throw from left field. David Dahl on a one-hopper right to the catcher Hundley, and Carter is gone.
Easy pickings for the Colorado left fielder. That is a perfect throw. I think Ed Cedar would have done it differently had it to do over again. I think Carter was very surprised that he was sent. I don't think Carter, as he takes off after this base hit, thinks there's any way he's going to be sent. Watch him. Took him a long time. He had to freeze because of line drive. Ed Cedar sends him, and that's an easy out at home plate.
Took a perfect throw to get him, and it was. And Carter is out on a 7-2 putout, second out of the inning. And now Arcia with a base hit into left center. So on the first pitch, Orlando Arcia with a single. And the 3rd hit of the inning. Yet the Brewers have not scored. 2 outs now with 2 on. And here comes Maldonado. Maldonado at the plate, presented by Wendy's, with 2 intentional walks. He will get a chance to swing the bat here, though.
Yeah, pitcher not on deck. Suter's done for the night, so you got a pinch hitter on deck, so you figure Maldonado is going to get something to hit finally.
Two gone, 2 on. There is one stat on the Rockies that jumps out at you. They probably had a chance to make a playoff run this year had they been better when they lead games. They have the most single season blown lead losses, 47 of them, which is tied for the all-time major league record. check that. It's a Rockies record. I beg your pardon.
Yeah, it comes down to bullpen, I guess, right?
So third most in the major leagues. They've set a franchise record for blown leads. Tonight a 4-0 lead. The Brewers would love to add one more to the Rockies. Just by way of comparison, the Brewers have 35 blown lead losses. And 2 of those coming in the last series against the Texas Rangers.
I guess it comes down to how you define a blown lead, right? If you have a 1-0 lead in the first inning and end up losing, is that a blown lead?
Runners take off, and the throw to third, not in time. Well, that was a risky play. So Perez on the move. Bit of a delay steal.
And that's exactly what it was. I mean, right there on a delayed steal, you're trying to deceive the infielder. Arenado a little bit late getting there, but now a base hit should score a pair.
Rockies want to have a look at this, and they are asking the umpires to go to the replay center. This will be a challenge for Colorado. So Arenado, in Walt Weiss's mind, got the tag on the leg of Perez.
I don't know.
Wow. That is close.
I don't know. Well, the ruling on the field is safe. Well, we'll see.
Tony Randazzo, the crew chief, is over there on the headsets. A calling umpire is with him. Third base umpire Tom Woodring.
Arenado on the move, and by the time he gets the tag on Perez, pretty close.
Man. Well, if it is overturned, the Brewers are going to have 2 base runners thrown out on the base paths, down 3 runs.
And it would be a 3-hit inning without a run on the board. There's a good angle on it. Well, no, it's pretty close.
Is there enough evidence to overturn it? The
Yeah,
call
that
on
angle
the field
there,
is out.
that angle there kind of leads you to believe that a little closer than we thought.
Call on the field is safe, I beg your pardon.
Another good play by Arenado. On the move, gets the baseball, and makes the tag. A little bit high, but is he on the bag?
Yeah, see what the call is going to be. Safe. All right, so Rockies have used their challenge, and I'm sure Hernan Perez breathes a sigh of relief. Call on the field stands. It is a double steal. Perez and Arcia both into scoring position now for Maldonado. Base hit here could turn the game a little bit.
Good eye.
Maldonado draws his 3rd walk of the game. That will load the bases. And Craig Counsell will go to his bench. Josmil Pinto will come on to hit. Well, he steps up in a big spot. Rockies pitching coach Steve Foster on his way to the mound. Rockies pitching coach Steve Foster has a daughter that is a top shelf softball player. She is committed to play for Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin.
Very nice.
Next year. So he's been spending a lot of time in Madison.
Yeah, the only left-hander available, I don't even know if he's available, is Kirk Neuenhuis on the bench. Nothing but right-handers, so Craig Counsell goes with one of his catchers. There's Neuenhuis.
Neuenhuis out with a sports hernia. Having a chat with Brent Suter. Pinto a chance to do some damage here. Rockies lead it 4-1. See activity in the Colorado bullpen. And Pinto takes a strike. One ball, one strike on Pinto. Bases are loaded. And a wave and a miss.
Good pitch to hit right there, that cut fastball. Been a good pitch for Bettis.
Pinto spent most of the season at AAA. Catcher, first baseman. He's the bat off the bench for the Brewers. And he takes one down and away. 2-2 now. I'll see what he gives him here. 2-2 the count. Inside corner and a called strike three. Pinto disagrees.
That's not a strike. That's off the inside corner.
Inning is over. And the Brewers strand the bases loaded in the 6th inning. Still 4-1 Colorado. That is like a ball. Bottom of the 6th inning. Brewers just left the bases loaded in the top half of the 6th. And our Carsoup.com trivia question: who was the first Brewers player to lead the league or tie the league in home runs? Carter has a chance to do that this year. That would be the Boomer, George Scott. 36 homers, 1975. That was the year he tied Reggie Jackson. Scott was a Gold Glove first baseman as well, aside from a home run hitter. Now Tyler Cravey's on to pitch, Rock.
And last pitch against the Rangers on Monday. Tossed a 3-up, 3-down inning and has not allowed a run in 12 appearances since being called back up. He got called back up on August 16th.
Nick Hundley leads off for Colorado. Pretty good work for Brent Suter, all things considered. He was able to lock it down the last 2 innings. Looked like it was going to be an early exit for him. There's a bouncer right off the end of the bat, and Jeanette will take care of Hundley for out number 1.
They really didn't have that sharper defense early in the game. The Brewers did not have an error, but there were a couple of plays, maybe a couple of double plays that could have been turned. No walks, throwing strikes, 10 hits in 5 innings. I think overall a pretty good appearance for him.
Gave up the home run to Nolan Arenado. No, he's done well this year, Brent Suter, in his first year in the big leagues. Here's David Dahl, who just made that throw to cut down Carter at the plate. Big play last inning. Brewers had 3 hits in the inning, could not score.
They just hate to get a guy thrown out, second out of the inning, down by 3 runs. But if you're Ed Cedar, you got the bottom of the order coming up. You're figuring your chances are somewhat limited, although I saw Arcia get a base hit. Sometimes you got to take chances when you're certain spots in the batting order.
No balls, 2 strikes the count, and a little roller over is Cravey, gloves it and will take it himself. Nice play by Tyler Cravey. 2 outs in the inning.
That's some pretty athletic pitchers on the mound tonight for the Brewers. I mean, Suter bouncing all over the place, and Cravey trying to catch his breath, and Maldonado going out to the mound just to give him a minute. Hey, keep up with the crew wherever you are with MLB.com at bat, the official app of the Milwaukee Brewers, featuring live broadcasts, scoring updates, breaking news, and more. Download At Bat today, free for your smartphone or tablet.
Well, meeting at the mound is broken up. Tyler Cravey with 2 outs in the 6th.
And maybe he's got his breath back, got his wind back with him.
Steven Cardullo, the Rocky first baseman. What a ride for this guy. He was playing in the independent leagues last year, and here he is in the big leagues for the Colorado Rockies. Had a hit his last time up. Mark Reynolds was playing first. Got hit by a pitch in the hand, had a hamate bone injury, and he's out for the rest of the season. All 3 days of it. Probably have seen the last of Gerardo Parra as well, who rolled his ankle yesterday. The former Brewer who signed a free agent deal with the Rockies was in a boot before the game today.
And not a very good season for Parra, who was outstanding for Milwaukee last year. 253, only 7 homers, 39 RBIs. Kind of a down year for him.
There's a fly ball into center field, right at Perez, and he's got it. And Cravey with a 3 up, 3 down 6th. We go to the 7th. Jonathan VR, he's a home run shy of 20. He'll lead off when we come back.
Denver, Colorado, or in Denver, Colorado. Tonight's time of the game winner, Crooked Creek Golf Course in Osceola, Wisconsin, if they call the Brewers, by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. They get 40 tickets to a Friday night game in the Miller Lite Beer Pen. This offer courtesy of the Tavern League of Wisconsin and Miller Lite. Pretty good downtown here in Denver.
Oh, great downtown.
Lot to do.
The Lodo district, lower downtown, here where the ballpark, and this ballpark has revitalized this entire area. It's been one of the great success stories for a downtown setting. Jonathan Villar leads away for the Brewers. Talking a lot about Chris Carter tonight, but Villar is a home run shy of a milestone year as well. He's trying to go 20-60. And a ground ball through. That's off the glove of Descalso and out into center field. And Villar with a big turn. He'll retreat and head back to first. And he put his hand up just to let Blackman know no need to throw here.
And don't throw behind me.
Base hit for Villar. And his first of the night. He's 1 for 4. Brewers have a lead man on in the 7th inning now for Scooter Gennett. We'll see if Villar's on the move.
Activity in that Rockies bullpen. You know, Bettis pitch count at 97.
Now the Rockies have Carlos Estevez on the mound in the bullpen. Gennett drops a bunt down, back to the mound, and Bettis throws him out. Still score that as a sacrifice. Gennett was surely trying to bunt for a hit, but just back to the mound a little too firm. But Villar does advance, and the Brewers have a base runner in scoring position with 1 away. And here comes Ryan Braun. Braun with 30 on the season. He's hitting .307 coming in, 90 runs batted in. He is second on the Powerball home run leaderboard behind Carter, who hit his 40th home run in the 4th inning. Braun is top 10 in the league in homers. He comes in 9th in the league in batting average. 0 for 3 tonight is Braun. Pitch number 100 coming for Chad Bettis. Runner at second is Villar. RBI chance for Ryan Braun. And he popped him up. That'll stay playable. Cargo is under it. Villar's going to tag. And the throw comes all the way through, and Villar is in. But there are 2 outs in the 7th.
And the hottest hitter for the Brewers coming up. Chris Carter got a couple of hits.
Pitch count by inning. He's been pretty efficient. That 4th inning, the 23 pitch inning, that is the inning that Carter led off with a home run. There were 2 hits and a walk in that inning. So Carter is up there with 2 hits. And it looks like Walt Weiss is going to make a double switch here. So we'll have a new pitcher for Chris Carter. Adames will come into play in the infield. We'll set up the new hurler, Estevez, after this break. Pitching change at Coors Field. The Brewers down 3. A man on with 2 men out. Baseball on Fox Sports Wisconsin is brought to you by Miller Lite, the original light Pilsner. Cheers. It's Miller time. Friday night, Denver, Colorado, the home of the Rockies. And we're at Coors Field. The Brewers trail by 3. Daniel Descalso keeps on the volleyball rotation here. He started the game as short, went to second. Now he's at first. And it'll be Christian Adames who will play second base. And rock the new pitcher is Carlos Estevez, who actually was tried out in the closer's role this year and had 11 saves, but 6 blown saves. And here he is coming in the 7th.
Yeah, those 11 saves, third best amongst Major League rookies. So you can see that big earned run average at 509. And a big strikeout pitcher, 57 punch-outs in 53 innings of work.
You got VR over third base. Chris Carter at the plate against the power of Estevez. Starts him with strike 1 on an off-speed pitch.
Big fastball, upper 90s. When he gets going, a good slider to go with it.
Carter is 2 for 3 tonight. Home run and a double. And a little half swing. He goes. Unable to check the swing. 0-2 the count on Carter. You be the judge.
98 miles an hour. Yep, he goes. I can bring it.
No balls, 2 strikes. And now Hundley's on his way out. Now Chris Carter's on a home run binge here in the month of September. What a closing month he's having. Just hit his 10th of the month on the final day of the month. That came to lead off the 4th inning. It's been his best home run month of the year. He's down 0-2, and Carter waves and fouls one away.
Estevez, 6'4", 210 pounds. Out of the Dominican Republic.
Only 23 years of age and an electric arm. Command problems. But he is a guy to keep an eye on for the future for the Rockies. Aren't many arms like this floating around. 99 with that heat.
Coors Field not going to affect that pitch too much. Fastball slider.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Carter swings and misses. Down he goes. Inning is over. So Walt Weiss made the play and it works out for him. Still a 4-1 Colorado lead. In Colorado. Great to see him here. We go to the bottom of the 7th inning from Coors Field. Hey, a reminder, every weekday morning, Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp go head-to-head on the day's hottest sports topics. It is Undisputed with Skip and Shannon, weekdays 8:30 a.m. Central, only on FS1. Tyler Cravey back on the mound, and here we go to the bottom of the 7th inning. Rockies have Daniel Descalso, who's played 3 different positions defensively tonight. Good inning for Cravey in the 6th. He retired the side in order. Brent Suter was the starter. Went 5, giving up 4 runs, all earned. Gave up 10 hits in those 5 innings, and he is on the hook for the loss. The Rockies starter, Chad Bettis, went 6 2/3 with 8 hits and 1 earned run allowed. 3 walks, 5 strikeouts for him. There's a swing and a miss. That quick release by Cravey. And Descalso strikes out for the first out of the 7th inning.
Yeah, it puts a little panic in you when you see Cravey do that. I mean, normally he takes that very deliberate step and then turns the back, and every now and again he's going to give you that quick pitch, and Descalso swings at a changeup out of the strike zone down in the dirt. Well done.
One away, 4 in a row retired by Cravey.
Whatever it takes to disrupt timing, right?
There's Adames now, who fouls it away. Cravey's kind of reinvented himself this season. Pitching from the windup, he's giving that extra twist, that Louis Tiant twist on the mound. He also has the quick pitch. It's almost as if he studied Johnny Cueto, and there's one, the quick release. I don't like calling it a quick pitch because that is an illegal pitch. It's not that. It's just he does it quicker. So it's accurate in its description, but that's not the.
Yeah, quick pitch official. Is when a pitcher throws home and the batter's not ready. You can't do that.
That's illegal.
But what else would you call it?
How about the quick release? There's a little changeup and a good one. Swing and a miss. First guy I ever saw do that was LaTroy Hawkins. And we just saw LaTroy, the former Rocky. We saw him in Dallas. He came out to spend some time with the Brewers.
Oh, Mike McClendon did that.
Yeah.
And with the Brewers a few years ago.
I've seen more and more pitchers use that since Johnny Cueto brought it back from a starting position. There's a swing and a miss and a strikeout, and Cravey with back-to-back Ks gets Adames for the 2nd out of the inning, and he's retired 5 in a row.
Yeah, good breaking pitch down. Both of the strikeouts have come on pitches out of the strike zone. Now that's what Cravey needs to do. I mean, he can't be playing around with the white of the plate too much. Breaking ball down out of the strike zone and gets another punch out. So 5 up, 5 down for Cravey, who has been tremendous out of the bullpen since coming up.
Top of the order, Charlie Blackmon. He had 3 at-bats in the first 4 innings, had 3 hits. And that one's in the air to center field. Perez is under this one. And Tyler Cravey looking good tonight in Denver. 6 up, 6 down. Making it look easy. We go to the 8th.
innings, the Brewers trail 4-1 here in the 8th. Our time now for our Miller Lite What's on Tap. Here's a look at tomorrow's pitching matchup. Willie Peralta will make his final start of the season. It's looking to finish on a strong note, and he'll face Jeff Hoffman tomorrow 0-4. And Craig Counsell said the plan for Sunday is still open. He said he wanted to see how the team got through tonight's game, how many innings they could get from Suter, and then also who they used out of the bullpen. He said especially pitching here at Coors Field, even with so many relievers that they have right now, you feel like you want to protect yourself in this ballpark. So we'll likely get an answer on Sunday's starter tomorrow.
All right, Sophia, thanks. And it has to be a bonus for Counsell. The Brewers are down in this game. They're in striking distance, though. And you've only used 2 pitchers, Suter and Tyler Cravey.
It's probably going to be a bullpen game on Sunday, and you're going to see a lot of pitchers in that game.
Rob Scahill getting loose. Looks like he'll be next. Corey Knebel down there as well. Santana down 0-2. Domingo doubled in the 4th inning. He's 1 out of 3. He was robbed of a double and an RBI by Arenado in the 6th. Great diving play by Nolan Arenado.
Well, he saved 2 runs for the Rockies. Those backhand plays down the line. Those balls get by him. Both of them are going to score runs. It would be 4-3. So not only has he driven in a couple, he saved a couple.
Whoa, look out. Close shave as Santana at the last moment backs out. Look out. Big fastball from Carlos Estevez. 3-2 the count, and Santana's late. He fouls it away. Up and in, ball 4. So it's a leadoff walk. Santana is aboard.
Hey, Brewers season seat holders enjoy the best seats at the lowest prices, plus have access to a number of exclusive rewards such as a trip down Brewers or Bernie slides, special autograph sessions, and more. Visit brewers.com/ticket plans to place a deposit on your 2017 season ticket plan today.
Here's Hernan Perez. There's a strike. Hernan had a base hit his last time up. 2 hits tonight. He's 2 for 3. Pushing that batting average to 273. His base hit was the play in which Carter was thrown out at the plate. And that's got a chance to be a double play. Flip to the backhand, and the turn is in time.
I don't know.
That was close. Brewers will certainly want to take a look at this one. Counsell does have a challenge. Santana out at second base. But let's check the play at first here. Bang, bang, it goes. And I think Counsell wants the umpires to take a look, so he will challenge. Could keep the inning going with a man on.
Yeah, safe. Pretty close.
I think he was clearly safe.
Yep, looks safe.
Baseball's got to make contact with the leather of the glove. They've got a quick resolution here. Let's see what Randazzo gets from New York. He says you are safe. So another successful challenge for Craig Counsell.
Good job by the video crew in the Brewers clubhouse. They've been on it. And the impressive one was the caught stealing early in the game where the tag was made by Jeanette on the foot. Umpire didn't see it. And this one a bit easier.
By an eyelash. So 1 away, runner at first. Here is Arcia, who singled his last time up, had a stolen base. And he's on the first pitch. A pop up in the infield. 2 outs. Martin Maldonado, who has walked 3 times tonight. The first 2 were intentional. Drew a walk in the 6th inning to load the bases. Estevez has the command problems to get him into trouble and has the stuff to get him out. Huge fastball. And there's that little element of fear as well, I'm sure, with the hitters, because he's not quite sure where it's going.
You don't want to be digging in.
Puts you in a passive role
right
to start with.
Kind of light in that batter's box. Ready to get out of there.
The closer is the right-hander, Ottavino. I believe that was Boone Logan, the left-hander. And Maldonado takes a ball high.
Yeah, Rockies have 3 left-handers down in the bullpen, including Jorge De La Rosa, who's in the bullpen now, former Brewer.
Manny Pena is on deck. And you got Knebel back up and throwing with Scahill. All depends on the score. That will determine who comes into the game. Maldonado at the plate, runner at first, 2 outs, runner goes, and a liner to right at Gonzalez for the out. Hit it hard, but right at the Rockies right fielder. Inning is over. And we're headed to the 8th inning. The Rockies are coming up. I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
I knew Barry Larkin was managing that club, but had no idea there's a couple of Bichettes on the team. So we will certainly be looking out for that.
Dante and I were teammates with the Brewers.
Is that right?
Yeah.
He had the shortest follow through on a swing.
He could have
and
power.
And a big league bat flip,
That's
too.
some torque.
Rob Scahill on for the 30th appearance of the season, the former Pirate. Brewers picked him up when the Pirates took him off their big league roster, and he's trying to keep this trend going. That hits him and caroms right to Arcia for the out. The trend that I'm speaking of is the fact that the Brewers have been shutting down the Rockies, facing the minimum since the third inning, since the beginning of the fourth.
Yeah, Charlie Blackmon had a 2-out base hit in the fourth, an infield hit, then got picked off. And that's been it. Brewers bullpen been solid.
Cravey went 6 up, 6 down. Suter started the game, went 5 innings and 4 runs. Cravey 2 innings, no runs. And now it's Scahill trying to keep Counsell and the Brewers within striking distance here, down 3 runs. Looking ahead to the Milwaukee 9th inning. Brewers will have a pinch hitter in the 9th spot in the batting order, and then to the top in VR and Jeanette. If anybody gets on, Braun. If you get 2 on, you'd bring Carter to the plate, and that's what the Brewers are hoping for. Carter has homered and doubled tonight. Hit number 40 in the 4th. Still trailing Arenado by 1, though. Nolan hit one in the first inning, a 2-run shot. The updated Powerball home run leaderboard right there in the National League. And a little roller out to second base. Valleca's over there, or rather Jeanette makes the play. I meant to tell you, Rock, Valleca and Adames switched last inning.
Yeah, I noticed.
That's what I was thinking of. All right, Nado's out. 2 gone in the inning.
Yeah, they've been moving around quite a bit, haven't they? Hey, save the date for Brewers on Deck 2017, which takes place on Sunday, January 29th. You purchase tickets for the Crew's annual Fan Fest by December 1st. You'll receive a free ticket voucher, good for select 2017 home games. Visit Brewers.com/on-deck. You know, Dante Bichette and I were not teammates with the Brewers. It was the Angels we were together.
Oh.
I knew it was one of the two.
It was one of them.
It was the Angels.
There's a ground ball. Right there is Arcia on the shift. And the trend continues. 3 up, 3 down innings. Since the start of the 4th, the Brewers facing the minimum. Last call for Milwaukee. We go to the 9th. Coming down to the ninth now. The Brewers are down 3, 4-1 Colorado. All the scoring came early in this game. Rockies scored a run, at least a run, in each of the first 3 innings. Tonight's game being presented by Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. And here we go to the ninth. Manny Pena will lead off for Milwaukee. And then to the top of the order, Jonathan Villar, then Scooter Gennett. Brewers going to try to do all they can to get Braun and Carter to the plate in this inning against the Rockies closer, Adam Ottavino.
Yeah, 6 for 11 in saves. Yeah, blew a save on Sunday. See more strikeouts in innings pitched.
He is coming back from Tommy John surgery. Had it last year and did not return until July 5th of this season. So all of July, August, and September, 3 solid months in a comeback year. The Rockies have very high expectations for what he could be. And whatever he is, it's probably going to be until next year to get the true effect of that surgery. Usually that second season back is what they say. There's a swing and a miss. That's a pretty nasty breaking ball right there.
Yeah, had that surgery in May of last year. It's usually typically a year plus before you really feel like you're back to normal. Got a pretty good slider going to Manny Pena.
Well, top of the order now. Brewers down to their last 2 outs. Here is Jonathan Villar. Singled his last time up. Well, you know he wants that 20th home run at some point. Sitting on 19. There has not been a player in the major leagues hit 20 or more homers and steal 60 or more bases since 1990, when Ricky Henderson did it. Villar has the 60 steals covered. He needs one more blast.
And they only come when you don't try.
I think he tried that time and he swung and missed.
But that nice easy swing on the baseball, that's when that baseball flies. And you know he's thinking about it. He knows he's in a ballpark that gives up a lot of home runs. Just got to figure out a way to put it out of your mind, but difficult to do.
1 ball, 1 strike. Ottavino delivers a crossfire delivery and a chopper foul. Now the Brewers and Rockies will be back at it tomorrow. Then Sunday is a day game. Remember, all games in the major leagues start Sunday at 2 p.m. Central. Going to be a great finish to the season. Just checking the scoreboards tonight. There's some really interesting developments in the American League. The Orioles have beaten the Yankees tonight. Giovanni Gallardo pitched a gem tonight for Baltimore, and the Orioles won. So they're in the wild card picture with Toronto and Detroit. Toronto had a lead, but they have lost that lead. The Red Sox now lead 5-3. That could shake things up. Meanwhile, the Tigers, who are on the outside looking in right now, Detroit has a 6-2 lead over Atlanta. Detroit is only a game back in the loss column to both the Orioles and the Blue Jays. Villar on the ground to second. Maleka makes a play for out number 2. Well, Brewers down to their last out. Scooter Gennett on his way to the plate. That's the guy you want to get to the plate, and then you have to get Carter to the plate to have a chance to tie this game. Trying to keep the line moving. Scooter Gennett is 1 out of 3 here tonight, and he swings and lines one foul. First ball swinging on Ottavino.
Ottavino throwing a lot of breaking pitches.
Big crowd tonight, 41,000 plus. Fireworks night.
Didn't start out
up
that
off
way.
their feet.
Yeah, not much of a crowd the first couple innings.
Many of them missed all of the scoring tonight. Jeanette had a double in the first. A couple of ground outs after that. He did have a sacrifice bunt as well. 1 ball, 1 strike to count. And Scooter takes a ball high. Cardinals are winning tonight 7-0. Giants are underway at home. They just started. Dodgers already with a 2-0 lead, scoring 2 runs in the first inning off Madison Bumgarner. Cardinals could jump into the wild card picture if that hangs up tonight.
I know the Dodgers love to knock the Giants out of the playoff.
No doubt. Well, the Brewers down to their last strike. 1 run on 8 hits for the Brewers. Kind of ran themselves out of an inning in the 6th. Their best chance to score. Jeanette slaps one foul. Two and two. Ottavino, the closer, deals it to Jeanette, and it just missed. 95-mile-an-hour fastball, and missed the inside quarter by a fraction.
Yeah, good take by Scooter, a little close, but there it is off the inside corner.
It's got to be tough to hit, Rock. That crossfire delivery.
Yeah, a little easier for a lefty than it is for a right-handed batter.
Here's a 3-2, and Jeanette fouls it away.
The pitch coming into you with that kind of delivery is much easier to at least see than as a right-handed batter, that pitch going away from you.
Brewers need base runners. Down 3, down to their last strike here in the 9th inning. Another 3-2 pitch from Ottavino. And Jeanette takes a called strike 3. The ball game is over, and the Colorado Rockies win the opener of this 3-game series. Jeanette does not agree with the call and left standing at home plate. So Ottavino with the save, Arenado with the home run, and the Rockies take the first game of this 3-game set. Pitch number 8.
Yeah, it looked like a little too close to take, right on the edge.
2 more to go in the 2016 season as the Rockies win the opener. Time for Brewers Live now. Let's check in with Jeff Grayson. He's standing by in the Fox Sports Wisconsin studios. Jeff?